Hey, you awesome folks! Thanks for taking this journey of discovery with your guide, Keith Haney. You're listening to the Becoming Bridge Builders podcast, your favorite podcast for everything from racial reconciliation to education innovation, justice reform, and leading change in the 21st century. This podcast is for people who love to be challenged with difficult topics, but want practical solutions to solve these challenging issues. Becoming Bridge Builders makes change possible. Each week on the podcast, Keith invites innovative thought leaders to share how they are building bridges in their area of expertise. You will hear breakthrough ideas and concepts that are changing the world. He's featuring guests who are best-selling authors, leaders at Microsoft, entrepreneurs, leading educators, professors, lawyers, and so many more. Listen in to learn how you can be the bridge to the change you are seeking.
My guest today is Benjamin Ironside Koppin. He's an award-winning director and cinematographer who intermixes humor and honesty with each of his films. As an Emmy-winning cinematographer, he shoots his own films, allowing his passion for collaborating with actors to push each other to find what is authentic within each moment. As a student of improvisation himself, he loves to allow actors the freedom to explore pursuing beautiful mistakes instead of manufactured moments. We welcome Benjamin to the podcast. Well, it's so good to have Benjamin and Courtney on the show today. How you doing today, Courtney?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Excited to be here, man. Excited to talk to you.
So I'm going to ask each of you my favorite question to kind of get us to know you a little bit better. We'll start out with Courtney. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Love yourself. Unconditionally.
I like that.
I like that too. Your turn, Ben. I saw you were thinking deeply while she was figuring out her question.
I like the idea of like you can do anything you set your mind to. Like the idea that like it takes work, but there's no one who like has the extra knowledge that you can't attain if you work at it and work to get there.
I like that. I like to ask my guest this question as well. Think of somebody, I'll start out with you this time, Ben. Think of somebody who was really important in your life, your development, and just tell us a little bit about that person. Just kind of get a chance to know. It's my chance to give my guests a chance to give a shout out to somebody who was really so influential in their life.
Yeah, if I'm allowed to group them as one person, I would honestly just say my family, my parents and my brother. We ran around with Dad's VHS camera. We stole it from him and made movies as kids. And, you see a lot of parents aren't supportive of their kids in the arts or creating or making. And my family was supportive of us always creating, always making. And me and my brother would always make films and things together. So, yeah, my family as a whole, I know that doesn't consider one person, but as a unit, yeah, just the support of that.
That's so cool. Courtney?
Oh, wow. Hands down. It just had to be my high school English and theater teacher. Her name's Jamie Young. I remember freshman English class, the first day, she reads us this children's book called Mrs. Watson Wants Your Teeth. And I'll go into it real quick. The story is about this Mrs. Watson. She just has this reputation about her, and she's this curmudgeon person and she wants your teeth. And then at the end of it we really learn about her, and it's really just a reputation. And the big lesson at the end of it was change your perspective. And this teacher, she was always very eccentric and very extravagant, very goofy, and I really resonated with that because I was the same way, and that's how I behaved in high school. And she had everybody, all these 14-year-old freshmen, stand up and shout, change your perspective. Change our perspective.
Wow.
Until we were all pretty sick of it. But I think that's the sole reason why I go into everything just with such an open mind, and why I'm so quick to dismantle any judgments that I come at something with. So even when somebody's telling me a story, I'll catch myself so often dipping into judgment and dipping into, and I go, oh, no, I really shouldn't do that. I should really listen. And then if I want to stick to my opinion, then I will.
I love that.
That's awesome.
I love to ask people, this is a new question, so you guys get a fresh new question on my podcast. Because you're in the movie industry, what would be the worst movie sequel ever made?
The worst.
Hasn't it already been made? I'm joking.
Oh my. Oh my. Worst movie sequel ever made. Like one that's existed or one that could possibly exist?
Yeah, I think
you get to pick.
Yeah, I think
probably one has been already been made. So what's been made? So
yeah. My favorite movie of all time is Jaws, like the original Jaws, right? Okay. And I always watch every summer. I watch the original Jaws. I just love that movie. And then I always try to dip into the sequels. I always try because I'm like, oh, I want some more Jaws. And then I put in Jaws 2, and they're just bad. They're just like, don't act as if they don't exist. Enjoy Jaws is what it is, and just those were fan films that were made, the sequels. So
I wonder if how the Incredibles sequel was such a success, we waited a decade for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What if it was Incredibles 1.5? Just like whatever movie was in between all that,
right?
Or maybe Dash is going through like a really petulant puberty phase, and it's just maybe just a Dash spinoff, like a one-off, like there you go. I could see Dash. It. Just him misbehaving. Actually, I think that'd be actually really cool. Make it, please.
I know one I'm thinking about that hasn't been made, but would be a horrible follow-up movie would be Forrest Gump 2.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I could see that.
It's just him fathering Haley Joel Osment.
There you go, yeah. Did you see Saturday Night Live just did a sketch where they had Forrest Gump, and it was like the 10-year reunion or 20-year high school reunion. And his bully steps up on stage. He's like, "What's Forrest been up to?" And everyone's like, "He did this and he did this. He did this." He's like, "Really?" So, oh my gosh.
Oh, I love that. So let's get into your movie because I'm curious. I think this is why we kind of brought you guys on. What led you to make the movie The Pastor's Kid?
Yeah, so Pastor's Kid is based on the true testimony of one of my friends. So. Yeah, I worked in the film industry for quite a while, ended up at a church doing video. It was a church called Mariners Church out here in California. And so we'd film testimony videos constantly and put them out, every weekend. And one Easter, of course, we're rushing around trying to get a testimony video that we need for our Easter service, big Easter service. And a friend of mine that I'd worked with this whole time, I'd never heard her story, but she offered up. She's like, I'll share my story. So we sat down and we filmed her journey. And essentially the story that we filmed is the story of Pastor's Kid. I was so moved by hearing her experiences. Basically, she was raised with an alcoholic mother, had to raise her own little brother. Mom then becomes a Christian, gets clean, becomes an executive pastor at a church, which means she handles kind of the business side of a church. And she's like, everyone praised my mom as being this amazing conversion story. All the while, no one asked about my pain that I went through having her as an alcoholic mother during that time and having to be the other parent, to my little brother. And so she goes, there's a switch as I'm in high school of this mom that I was waking up because she was passed out drunk. I was having to wake her up to go to work. Now, all of a sudden, I want to go out past 8 o'clock to be with my friends. And my mom's saying, no, you can't go out past 8. And so for her, she internally felt this hypocrisy from the church, and this hypocrisy from that experience of she's like, God didn't see my pain. The church didn't see my pain. So I did everything I could in college to push my mom away, to push God away. And then eventually some incidents happened with her in college, dealing drugs, partying too hard, different experiences that kind of force her to relook at her past and deal with some of the traumas she was raised with. And then at the end, we don't want to spoil it too much, but perhaps she has her own spiritual experience or epiphany that helps her realize there's a different path that she could go down. And so anyways, I got to film that story while at that church. I had no idea that was her journey. And I just felt like so many people could relate to this story if told in an honest way. And we asked her if we could make the film, and she said yes. So that's kind of the journey of how we got the film started, at least.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
And now a word from one of our sponsors, For Freedom Mobile. If you're using AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile, then you're being tracked. Mobile providers collect your location, communications, internet activity, even your financial transaction. They sell that data to anyone willing to pay for it and provide it to the government without a warrant. Switch to For Freedom Mobile, and you won't ever have to worry about Big Tech or Big Brother tracking you through your mobile phone again. For Freedom Mobile provides secure, unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data for just $29.99 a month, and it includes free internet roaming in over 200 countries. Sign up for the service by visiting forfreedommobile.com and using the promo code BRIDGEBUILDERS to get your first month for only $9.99. See forfreedommobile.com for details, just like the number 4, freedommobile.com. I saw the trailer for the film, and one of the things I noticed was that it's got an R rating on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming as a filmmaker making a Christian film that probably caused you a little bit of angst going.
Oh gosh.
Do I pull the story back so that it's a PG story? How do you tell us a little bit about that journey for you personally?
Oh, it's been terrible. Terrible and amazing all at the same time. When hearing her story, because she was such a close coworker of mine and friend of mine, that it's like I felt we needed to honor her story by telling it in the most raw and honest way possible. Every time, like while working on the script, we tried to pull back or we tried to, make it not real. And I want to clarify, like we're rated R for language and drug use is basically,
right, yes.
I just felt the need that if we're stepping into this drug culture, if we're stepping into this lifestyle, that we needed people to speak how people normally speak. And we needed to make it just like a real, the way I say it is it's like a real movie that you would see that has faith in it. Like that was the goal kind of going into it. And what was a little frustrating is we pitched it to several Christian film producers all around Hollywood. As I met with like, I've met with a lot of them. And every time we tell them that it's like, we're making this film that like the goal is it's just a normal movie that has faith in it. And it can bridge that gap. It can be that movie in the middle that both a Christian can watch and someone who's been burnt by the church can watch and experience and feel like it's honest. And every Christian producer we met with, it was water it down to PG and sell a book with it. That was the thing that everybody said is like sell a book, sell Bible curriculum, all of this stuff. And so what I learned is there is this machine behind the Christian film industry. And I'm not trying to like poo-poo that or be negative to that in any way. It's just, to me, that felt manufactured and it didn't feel like the right approach. But I'm not going to lie to you. I had a final meeting that I was told that, and that we could have gotten maybe some pretty big funding if we would have done that. And I called my wife and I was like, do we do this or do we make it in this R-rated way that we feel like called to do? And she was like, we do it ourselves. Don't worry about it. And so, that's what we did with Pastor's Kid. So it's definitely meant to be as real as possible, as honest as possible. And though that may be uncomfortable for some people, we've been saying like, don't feel like you're forced to go see this movie, but maybe in your head, think of if there's someone in your life that it would be great for you to take to see this movie, or you invite to this movie that wouldn't watch, a traditional faith film. So.
Right. You have any thoughts, Courtney?
Oh no, it's just funny. Because we're definitely breaking the mold here, or we're just chipping off a little part of the mold. Like I said this, if faith film is the big umbrella term, we're trying to just add a little subgenre to it where these stories can be told in a real way. Because Ben, what was the phrase you've been saying? There's faith in family,
yes.
Which we love. We love that genre. I mean, I think it accomplishes many amazing things, and a lot of people feel seen by those movies. A lot of people resonate with those movies, but then there's a lot of people who don't. I think there's a lot of people who, they aren't represented by faith films just in general. And then this is for them. This is say, hey, you can be imperfect. You can make mistakes. That doesn't have any bearing on whether or not you're worthy of love or acceptance, or whether or not you belong here, or anything like that. Just, hey, here's one story that maybe is like yours, and maybe it's not. Maybe it's like somebody you know. But then it's funny. So we're definitely breaking a mold, and when you do that, there's pushback, there's confusion, there's, what are you trying to do? There, you just run into so many things. And it's funny, Ben, because I remember you telling me a story about, okay, they either wanted you to water it down or they wanted you to make it like Breaking Bad.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
hey, well, maybe she runs the cartel or something like
Yes.
that. And then, so
that was a note. They literally were like, the cartel is going to be like coming by her window and she's going to be like, oh, I got to like fight them off. And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, it's the Christian Breaking Bad. And I'm just like, no, we're not doing that.
So they just kept, I mean, and rightly so.
That.
I understand the machine in this way. I understand things need a genre, but it was funny just which end of the spectrum people wanted to push us in, but it's hard because things need a genre for it to make sense to be in a category, because people need to know what they're going into. Mm-hmm. But then it does have a genre, one we're creating, and then it's just always an interesting sticky journey when you try to do something different.
Well, even when I worked at that church, it's like I filmed so many testimonies that I was like, I filmed over 200 while I was there at that church. And I was like, if this was told in a raw, real way, this one's like an Oscar winner. If this one was told in a raw, real way, this could be an Oscar winner. And I think so often, because faith and family has become so paired together, it's like you can't have one without the other. When we make every story PG, we lose some of that depth. You know what I mean? That makes the story powerful. And not that every film needs to be R-rated, or not that we want to go overly explicit, right, with the content we put in our films. But I think there is a beauty in showing the realities of the darkness that God steps into for people. And that's where we get a lot of power for our story. But when your character, is in the before Christ, part of their life, and it's just as clean and perfect as the after Christ part, it's like, well, then why did Jesus need to come for this person in general if they were just as good as they are now? You know what I mean? And so anyways, that's, I think, a little trope that we get stuck in sometimes.
No, and I think, quite frankly, and this is what we hope, that I think the Christian community is hungry for something like this. I mean, this is what we hope. It's what I think. I think we want to be real, and I think we're done pretending. I mean, I at least am, because it gets kind of exhausting. Like, hey, can we just be us?
Yeah, as a pastor, I run across, like you talk about, a lot of stories of people who were outside the church and then came back. And I think it's hard for Christians who maybe have been in the church so long that all their friends are Christian. And so they do have friends who are the Christian film artist people who they've been Christian for long before Christ. They thought, I was just a little bit like this, and then now I'm just a little bit better version of this.
Yep.
But when we bring in people who have struggled, who have drifted away, who have struggled with their faith, who got involved in the world's culture, their stories are messy. And I always told my congregation, missions is messy. Mm-hmm. People's stories are messy. And if we really want to be a church that reaches out to our community, we're going to have some messy stories and some messy lives in our pews. We're going to have, at times, colorful language. They haven't,
right.
God tamed the tongue last, and wallet, so... those were the things that we have to be willing to understand, that their journey wasn't your journey. Mm-hmm. And you're right. I think people will see in a movie like this that the people we're trying to reach are the ones who are gone through the stories that you're telling this pastor's kid story. There's, and in our country now, there is more drug use. There's more broken lives. There are more dysfunctional families. So yeah, a lot of the people we're going to bring in are going to look like probably the story you're telling.
Well, and it's crazy too to even think. So we shot this movie several years ago. It's just been a process getting it released, and it's crazy even seeing like, I don't want to get political or anything, but the fentanyl stuff that's been coming into, and how, to me, that even has added this extra layer of like some of that's being hidden within cocaine and some of these other things. And so this lifestyle that we're viewing now of her life almost seems a little bit more dangerous and risky than it did back when we filmed the film in some ways. And so, but just kind of piggybacking off what you're saying is, we had a chance to screen this film for conservative Midwest Christian ladies, like older conservative Christian ladies. And we let them know what it was going to be up front. We were very clear about it, and and I was very thankful they went into it with an open mind. And we got these reviews back, and, some of them like didn't appreciate the language, but they're like, I understood why you did it. But they go, I knew a person like this in college, or I had experienced this type of thing in college, or maybe even I was this person in college. And what we found is that it allowed these kind of more conservative Christian older ladies to be able to open up and share their own stories that they have felt like they've had to hide for all of these years. And so for me, that's kind of made me realize that whether we like it or not, everybody has an R-rated story. Everybody has experienced darkness, they've experienced language, they've experienced all of these things. Whether you've participated or not, that's a whole different discussion, but it's like you have touched and seen the darkness of the real world. And so if we can step into this film or use this film even as a way to say, man, if God can use her story, then God can use my story, and I can open up more and share about the things I've struggled with or things that I've gone through, and not have to put that false, face up anymore, that wall.
Yeah, and we can honor and celebrate everybody's journey, because I really think ultimately that's what it's all about anyway. And then just we hear all these stories of born again Christians, and they're always so beautiful, and of somebody who's made some mistakes, and how do we then honor who they are today if we I think is the term whitewash?
Yeah,
I don't think so. How do we honor who they are today if we sanitize? Yeah, if we sanitize their every step of the way that got them there, not to glorify it, but to say, hey, to just tell the truth about, hey, this is the things I've done, this is the things I've lived through, and hey, here I am today. I think it's way more powerful than like, hey, I've been this way forever, and you should have been too, or something. It's just the message gets I think lost if you start to whittle away parts of the truth.
Yeah.
I always say that every conversion is a miracle. It's a miracle of the Holy Spirit moving. Some of them just seem more larger miracles than others because of where they came from. But you're right. I think we need to tell these stories, because that is a lot of people in our community, our friends or family. And to let them know that even if you've been down this far, God can still God will still look for you. God will still search for you. God will still find you. And it's still possible for you to become in a relationship with him. And so your story is not so broken that God will ignore you. I think that's an important story for us to tell.
Well, even in the testimony I filmed, she talked about when she kind of has this moment at the end where maybe she has a spiritual experience. I'm trying not to spoil it too much, but at the end, she has a moment, I'll put it that way. And she basically said, that at that moment, I felt seen, fully known, fully heard, and fully loved. And, Courtney, you've said in some other interviews, it's like, who is not striving for that? Who does not feel that way, where we want to feel that way? We want to feel fully seen and fully known and fully loved. And that's one of those things that I think, telling the story in this way, the hope is that both people of faith and people not of faith can go to this movie. And whether you fully agree with the religion or the faith being presented in the film, that my hope was if an atheist sat down in our film, by the time they got to the end of that movie, I wanted them to sit here and say, yes, please choose that religion, please choose that faith, like, God, please, step into her life, because they don't want to see her continue down the path she has gone. And no matter what the other trajectory would be, our hope is that the audience will sit here and say, take that path to get away from what you've been, because going back to the lifestyle that she's been presenting has proven to be empty and void of meaning for her.
No, and then you do see her longing for it. That's that throughout the her whole journey is, you have these moments with her where you see her missing it. You see her hear something, and she's like, where she's going down this path, but every now and then there's tiny wake ups throughout.
And what did it mean for you, Courtney, to be part of this film? I'm just curious. It's one thing to direct it, but what impact did it have on you being in it?
Wow, that's a big one. Well, let me start with the cliche of it's just an honor, and I mean that. But it just to be a part of something that's where the intentions. I'm gonna get emotional. Where the intentions are just so true. Where the intentions are just, hey, there's something here that's not happening. There's people who are lost, and we're trying to go get them. To be a part of something like that, to be part of something that's just trying to make a small impact somewhere, I think that just meant to the world to me. I'm so sorry. As an artist,
no, it's fine.
Because I think you get into a creative life for this. And then I think you get distracted, just like Riley, by shiny things, by things that feel good, like Hollywood and all these other things. But to say, hey, we're trying to do something honest, it might not work, it might be a bad idea, but let's see if we can accomplish it. It's just so what I'm here for. There was one other thing that I was going to say, but I got distracted by
That's awesome,
by my meltdown here. What was it? Come back to me. I'll add to it.
Sure. I wanted to add, kind of when Courtney and I originally sat down, as we were talking about who is this film for, and there was a family member in my life that had basically shared they'd kind of deconstructed, been burned by the church, walked away from the faith. And I basically had told Courtney that, if that's the one person I want to hit, and that there are so many other people in our culture, in our world, like religious deconstruction is a movement right now on social media and in the world. And I'm like, how can we help those people feel seen and feel heard, and for them to be able to step into the film? And we're not denying the pain that they have felt in the church and the judgment that they felt in the church, but yet we're also saying you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, is that you can explore faith, you can explore a relationship with God and Jesus apart from that church that was burnt, that was mean to you or burnt you, and that you can feel seen here, and you can feel, that we're not just trying to sweep that under the rug and say it doesn't matter. And I don't feel like we've seen that, because in film, it's either going to go so far that it says all religion bad, all belief bad, like that's going to be the perspective, or you're going to make a Christian film, a traditional Christian film that's going to just say, get over it, it's no big deal. And our film, I didn't want it to sit, I wanted it to sit in the middle and say, your pain is valid, and let's deal with it and talk about it.
It's funny you mention that. I've actually had this on my heart to connect with people who have either walked away from the church or walked away and came back. And so I'm actually reached out on social media to a couple Christian groups, say, hey, I'm looking for people to come on, do a podcast episode with me on why you left the church, and for those who came back, why you came back. And I'm anticipating I'm going to hear a lot of what you just described, that there was a lot of hurt, a lot of pain. And I wanted to do it because I don't think the church has heard from those people that have walked away and understand their pain. Because when I even bring up to the church how you're connecting with those people, a lot of times the church just says, well, they need to just get over it and come back. Yeah. The church is the best place in the world to be. I'm like, yeah, but they were hurt by the church. Are you ready to hear their stories? And so I want to give an avenue for them to tell their stories on the podcast. It's a little bit of a different shift, but my goal still is the same thing: is how do we build a bridge between what the church was to them and what it can be again, or is again.
It's awesome.
I remembered what I wanted to touch on lastly.
Oh, good.
I think it has to do with everything you just said, like and how we're just trying to do something small. And because this is, I think, an old adage that you can't perhaps maybe you can't change the whole world, but you can change one person's whole entire world.
Ooh,
And just
like
so
that.
many people, there's been so many people in my life who have changed my whole world. And I think those people, they're not Gandhi, they're not anything. There's just been people in my life who've just had such an impact. Back to the question that you asked at the beginning, is just that those people, they can be so influential on one person, and then can that be enough?
That's awesome.
So awesome. So what are you guys excited about in this season besides this film coming out on March 15th?
Yes. Yeah. I don't right now. I have blinders on, so I don't see anything past March 15th and this weekend. But I mean, we've been doing the podcast tour, and it's been very exciting to talk to Christians and to talk to people. And we even had, someone say, I went into the film a skeptic and I came out a supporter. And that's kind of been exciting for me to see that. I truly believe the majority of Christians are ready for something like this. And even when we're posting our ads and running our ads on social media for the release, I'm the one answering all the comments, in the comments section. And I'll say, we've gotten a handful of comments that have just been like, how can you be a Christian and make an R-rated movie? Or I've been told I've been in bed with the devil. I'm going to tell you, I have not. I just want to make it clear, I have not been in bed with the devil. And but I'll answer these questions. We have a handful of comments that have been those kinds of comments, and what's been beautiful is I don't let it sit, and I have discussions with these people. I say, the Holy Spirit led us to make the film in this way. This is why we did these things, and then they'll come back with something snotty, and then I'll respond again. And my goal in this discussion is that there is beauty that can be had within the church about art and creativity and what is too far and what is not too far. What are things we can explore? And I feel like we just haven't had that discussion in so long. And so really trying to use these comments to be a way of cultivating that discussion of maybe this is too far for you. And I respect that. But can we sit here and say that God can use something that goes dark like this, that shows the reality like this? And what's been honestly so moving to see is people change in the comments, is the majority of them will say, I don't agree with it, but I'm praying for you guys and that it's successful. I understand it now. And even having people that I don't know come in and defend us has been really interesting too, in the comments where they're like, have you read the Bible? The Bible's R-rated, and so I would say the majority of it has been respectful. It takes a little while to get there, but it's been really lovely to see just that the majority of people are in support of what we're trying to do, and they understand it. And they kind of come to our defense. And then even just to see those harsh comments, we're changing minds and changing hearts in the way that we have this discourse. So I hope that, honestly, I hope the movie's success. I hope it reaches the right people. But I also hope that it can start this discussion within the church about, can we start telling some of these stories a little more R and real? So anyways, long-winded answer, but yeah.
No, it's good. You mentioned earlier that someone suggested that you, alongside this film, put together Bible studies, content. Is that also a part of what you guys are going to be doing?
Nope. Nope. I talked to the person whose story it's based on, and it's her story, but then there's also aspects of her mom's story in it as well, because her mom has an experience that leads to all this. And so I had said, do you want to write a book about it? And she's like, nope. And she's like, my mom has thought about writing a book at some point, but that's way far down the line. And I just, for us, it was this idea of we wanted the film to stand on its own and not feel like it tastes like the Christian film industry, if that makes sense. We wanted it to be, because the moment you start tying it to things like that, general audiences who aren't of faith are going to smell it a mile away, and they're going to sit here and say, this feels like propaganda, or this is pushing selling of thing. And I'm not trying to say that all films that do that are propaganda or trying to sell, but for us, I just worry with the audience we were going for that it would feel disingenuous.
Yeah, I feel like it was a slippery slope. No, not slippery slope, but we definitely wanted a film with no agenda,
right?
Other than, hey, this exists, this is reality, and any possible thing where we're like, hey, this kind of has an agenda we kind of wanted to stay away from.
I get that. I like that. So here's your chance. You have 30 seconds to give a message to the world. You go first, Ben.
Oh boy. And this is just like positive message.
Any message you want. You have the platform for the world for 30 seconds. You go.
Oh boy. My hope is anyone listening to this would know that God wants to have a relationship with them right now, and that he is yearning for them right now. And there's nothing that he hasn't seen, doesn't know that you've done, and that your purpose, you can have purpose and value from a God that loves you very, very much. Is that good?
Great. Courtney.
And I'm gonna actually spin something you said, Keith, earlier. I'm going to use one half of a sentence you said, is that you're not so bad. You're just not so bad. I mean, because I think I'll speak just personally. I can get so nitpicky about myself and so self-loathing that, that I just don't get productive, or I can think all the things that Riley thought, but you're just not so bad.
I like that. My other favorite question I'd ask my guests is this one. What do you want your legacy to be?
You ask the best questions. Oh, wow. Maybe it's because I just woke up, but but I ultimately think that anybody I've encountered in my life, I hope that they I hope they feel seen, and I hope they feel accepted, and like they're worthy of being given the benefit of the doubt, just like anybody else. Like we all belong here, and it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you've come from. I think I try to do this in my life. I try to take everybody for who they are, and it doesn't matter if you got $1 million. It doesn't matter to have $2. It's just I hope like anybody I've ever encountered, at the end of my life, just feels that I've just taken them for who they are.
I love that. What you got for me, Ben?
I think if there is like a legacy, and I don't know if this is tying it too much to the movie, but I like that idea of creating art that people can revisit down the line, even when I'm not here, and have it feel like we were trying to do something, or that we had a purpose behind what we were making, and that it can resonate with people long after I'm gone.
I love it. So for those who want to see the movie, where can they look for The Pastor's Kid, and where can they connect with you guys on social media?
Yeah, so pastorskidthemovie.com is where you can go to see a lot of our content. We even have the original testimony video that I filmed while working at that church. You can see that. I've put a little thing out that says spoiler warning, because it does tell the entire story if you go and check that out. But yeah, tickets should go on sale today is the plan right now. And our weekend is March 15th. We have March 15th, 16th, and 17th is our weekend. Those are our days. And basically, we have to sell out those tickets, get those tickets sold. And if that is a successful weekend, they extend us to more theaters and more places. So right now we're in select theaters that first weekend of March 15th. And we're just pushing everyone to try to show up that weekend. And then, hopefully it continues. And then we're on social media as Pastor's Kid the Movie as well.
Yeah, we're on
And
Fandango.
Yeah.
You can just go to Fandango and just wherever movie tickets are bought, you can find our movie. And then, if you want to hang out with me on the internet, I'm on Instagram. I'm Bandicoot, as my last name with another O-T, BANDEKOOT. And that's kind of the only platform I'm on. I keep thinking I'll make a TikTok, and I might, and I'll be the same handle eventually. But Instagram.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. And I pray that your movie does resonate, because I think it's an important story to tell. We need to know that we're not all shiny and good back where we're coming from, but that God reaches down into the depths of whatever our issues are and draws us out and shows us by the power of the Holy Spirit that we're loved and valued and cared for. And so I pray that people get that message from your movie.
Oh, thank you, Keith.
Thank you. I appreciate that, man.
Thanks for listening to Becoming Bridge Builder. If you enjoyed this episode and want to help support the podcast, please subscribe and share it with others. Post about it on social media or leave a rating and review. To catch all the latest from me, you can follow me on Instagram at bkeithhaney and on Getter and Twitter at RevHeadpin or on his website at alightbreaksthrough.org. Thanks again and tune in next time.